Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Neener Out Loud. Today, I'm going to be recapping a movie that was a true phenomenon, Twilight, a movie that birthed countless memes and nearly 20 years later is still one of the top films on streaming services. You cannot talk about the mid to late 2000s without mentioning Twilight. What other movie has an entire generation of tweens choosing between a vampire and a werewolf? The movies are bad, but so good. So without further ado, put on your Team Edward or Team Jacob shirts. I am Team Edward or kind of Team Charlie, and let's head to Forks. We begin with our main character, Bella. She is moving from her mom's house in Phoenix to live with her dad. We also see a doe being hunted by a human, and not like with a bow and arrow or a firearm, just by hand. Bella's dad, Charlie, is the chief of police in Forks, a small and rainy town in the Pacific Northwest. Their relationship is fine, albeit a little awkward. She hasn't been to Forks in years, and she really only ever used to spend like 2 weeks there a summer as a kid. Bella's parents are questionable, to say the least. Charlie tries, but you were good with only seeing your daughter for a couple weeks at a time, and it's been years since she's even been to your house, girl. Also, her mom, Renee. The reason that Bella is moving is because Renee remarried a guy named Phil, and he's a minor league baseball player, and she wants to travel with him. So Bella decided to move in with Charlie for her senior year, and Renee was just like, okay, cool. Uproot your entire life for your senior year. You couldn't wait 1 year, honestly? So Charlie's friend, Billy Black, and his son, Jacob, come over. Billy says that Charlie has been so excited for Bella to move in, and I know I just ragged on him a bit, but I do love Charlie. Billy brings with him an old, 1950s, truck, and turns out Charlie has bought this for Bella. Jacob reintroduces himself. He and Bella used to play together as kids, and meanwhile, Charlie and Billy are fucking around with each other in the background, play fighting. Bella loves the truck. Jacob shows her how to drive it, and she offers him a ride to school, but he goes to school on the reservation. Bella is joining school right in the middle of the year, so she knows no one. This guy named Eric introduces himself. Bella is pretty much the talk of the school because she's new. Eric wants to do a story on her in the school paper, and she's like,
"Oh my God, no."
Bella is extremely awkward and klutzy, to an annoying degree, and I say this as an extremely awkward and klutzy person myself. In gym class, she accidentally nails this kid in the back of the head with a volleyball, and this is Mike Newton. She also meets a girl named Jessica. She sits with them and Eric at lunch, along with this other girl named Angela. All the guys in the group are enamored with Bella. A group of interesting looking students, walk in. These are the Cullens. They are the foster kids of one of the local doctors. They're from Alaska and they're dating each other. Rosalie is with Emmett. Alice is with Jasper, who looks like he's in serious pain.
Wow.
Then Edward walked in, and it felt like life itself leaned in to listen, and I really hope someone got that reference. Jessica says that's Edward, but she tells Bella not to waste her time because he's never been interested in anyone. So Edward is over at his table just staring daggers at Bella. He looks extremely irritated. And a funny note about this scene is that Emmett has a bag full of hard-boiled eggs for lunch, which, he's a big dude. Maybe he's trying to get some gains, but just, half a dozen hard-boiled eggs? Okay. Bella sees that Edward is in her next class, looking pissed at her. She walks in front of a fan and it blows in Edward's direction. This man literally puts his hand over his mouth like he's going to hurl. Bella has to sit next to him, and Edward is repulsed to the point where Bella thinks that she must smell bad. The whole period, he's looking at her like she killed his puppy, and as soon as the bell rings, he hauls ass out the door. Bella goes to the office and sees that Edward is there, desperately trying to switch out of that class, but bad news, he can't. So he says, "Fine, I'll just have to endure it," and blows right past Bella. Rude. Now we see Bella and Charlie at the diner. This is the scene where Bella is supposed to put ketchup on her plate, and she does it so badly that it's become one of the most well-known scenes in the movie. The next day, Bella waits in the parking lot for Edward. She's going to ask him what the his problem is. All of the Cullens, sans Edward, show up in cars that are far too nice for high schoolers to be driving. Edward doesn't come to school for like a week, and Bella is bugging about it. Also, the rest of the Cullens keep just staring at her. It's weird. Now we cut to a random industrial building where a worker is running away from 3 people who are excellent at parkour. They corner him, and then we cut to Bella's house. She's leaving for school and falls in the driveway. Charlie tells her that he'll be late that night because a security guard got killed by an animal. Also, that he put snow tires on her car. At school, Eric attempts to ask Bella to the dance, and Mike interrupts with one of my favorite lines, another one. "What's up, Arizona? How you liking the rain, girl?" Eric's like, "Okay, cool. Thanks, dude." So guess what? Edward's in class. This motherfucker says, "Hello. Sorry I didn't get a chance to introduce myself last week. I'm Edward." He asks how she likes the weather, and she says she doesn't like any cold or wet thing. This amuses Edward. They're working on an assignment together, and there's some ambiguous flirting. He asks her why she moved to the rainiest place in the US, and they talk about Renee a bit, and this is where we learn about Phil being a minor league player. Edward seems genuinely curious about Bella's life, and he says that she's difficult to read. She asks Edward if he got contacts because his eyes were black, and now they are a very unrealistic honey brown color. Edward mumbles something about it being the fluorescence and looks really conflicted and walks off. Later, we see Edward from across the parking lot, all the way across the parking lot, just staring at Bella. Just then, this boy named Tyler's van careens out of control and almost smokes Bella. Out of nowhere, Edward shields her and stops the van with his hand. Bella's like, "What the fuck?" And then he just leaves while everyone else in the parking lot totally panics. At the hospital, Charlie arrives. Tyler is apologizing profusely and says that he tried to stop. Bella's like, "It's okay, I'm fine." And Charlie's like, "It's not fine. You could have been killed, Bella. I will talk to you later." Enter Dr. Carlisle Cullen. Whoever was in charge of the hair in this movie needs to be looked into, because why were all the blondes so brassy? Have we never heard of a bleach and tone?
Bleach and tone, like.
Bella is fine, but she has some questions for Edward. She overhears him talking to Rosalie and Carlisle in the hallway. Rosalie says, 15 kids saw what happened. And Edward's like, "Was I supposed to just let her die?" They see that Bella is listening, and Edward goes to talk to her. She's like, "Hey, what the happened?" And he gaslights the hell out of her. He says, "I was standing right next to you. You hit your head. I think you're just confused." But Bella knows what she saw. He says, "No one's going to believe you." And she says, "I wasn't going to tell anyone. I just want the truth." He says, "Can't you thank me and get over it?" So she's dreaming about him later and wakes up to see that he's in her room. But when she turns the light on, he's gone. At school, Mike asks Bella to prom while Edward is just staring at her like a maniac. She says she has to go to Jacksonville that weekend, but that he should ask Jessica instead. They're on a field trip to a greenhouse, and Bella walks by Edward and he says, "What's in Jacksonville?" "I'm sorry, mind your business." And he doesn't ask nicely. He's asking her like he's entitled to know. And she's like, "How did you know that?" And he says, "You didn't answer my question." She says, "Well, you don't answer any of mine. Tell me how you stopped the van." Edward says, "I had an adrenaline rush. It's common. Google it."
Okay, ass face.
So Bella tells him Floridians. That's what's in Jacksonville, and then she falls. Edward says, "Can you at least watch where you walk?" He apologizes for being rude, but he has this absolutely unhinged look in his eyes. Later, Edward approaches Bella again and says, "We shouldn't be friends." She says, "Maybe you should have just let the van hit me then, if you regret it this much." He says, "You think I regret it? You don't know anything." So now here comes Alice. She's all excited and says, "Hi, are you riding our bus?" And Edward's like, "No, this bus is full." He does not want Bella anywhere near him. Or does he? At lunch the next day, Bella sees Edward looking pissed, naturally. Eric invites her to La Push Beach the next day on the Quileute Reservation. Their whole group is going, and Bella agrees. She gets up to grab some food, and she drops an apple, and naturally, Edward is there and swoops it up in the most inhuman David Copperfield-ass way possible. If you don't want this girl questioning your strange abilities, why are you doing this? You're not saving her life by, picking up an apple for her. She tells him his mood swings are giving her whiplash. He says, "I only said we couldn't be friends. Not that I don't want to be, but if you're smart, you'll stay away." She says, "What if I'm not smart? Would you tell me the truth then?" He says, "Probably not, but I'd like to hear your theories." So they sit down, and Bella says, "Radioactive spider, kryptonite." Edward says, "That's superhero stuff. What if I'm the bad guy?" She says, "This is clearly some weird defense mechanism you have. Why don't we just hang out? Come to La Push tomorrow." He says that beach is a little crowded and basically declines. So they're at the beach the next day, and Angela tells Bella that she's hoping Eric will ask her to prom. And Bella says, "Just take control and ask him. You're a strong, independent woman." Jacob shows up with some of his friends, and everyone else is going to surf. So Jessica tells Jake and his friends to keep Bella company because her date bailed. And at the mention of Bella having a date, Eric and Mike are like, "What date?" Bella says she was just being polite by inviting Edward, and Mike calls him a freak. Jake's friends agree, and Bella asks if they know him, and one of them says,
"The Cullens don't come here."
Very ominously, which is bizarre. She's walking along the beach later, asking Jake about why he said that about the Cullens. He says he's not really supposed to say, but lore dumps anyway. Legend has it, Quileutes are descendants of wolves. The Cullens are descendants of an enemy clan. Jake's great-grandfather was the chief, and they were found hunting on Quileute land. They made a treaty that they would stay off their land, and the Quileutes would never reveal their true identity to the Palefaces. Bella seems to take it pretty seriously, and Jake's like, "It's just a story, girly." Next, we see Charlie's friend Waylon. Something is stalking him. He's attempting to leave on his boat, and this woman appears in a flash and drags his boat back to the dock. He's curious at first because she's an attractive woman, until a shirtless man appears behind him and starts taunting him. Then a third man appears and said, "James, let's not play with our food." Back with Bella, we see her looking up books on Quileute legends and writing the address of a bookstore down. At school, the weather is nice for once. Bella is clearly looking for Edward, and Jessica tells her he's not there because whenever it's nice out, Dr. Cullen takes all of the kids camping. Angela shows up and says that she asked Eric to prom, and he said yes. So the girls are going to go to Port Angeles to go dress shopping, and Bella asks to tag along because that's where the bookstore is. The girls really like Bella, and it's sucky because she's not receptive to their friendship at all. They wanted her to come shopping with them because they actually value her opinion, but she's just constantly thinking about Edward. So they're downtown trying on dresses, and a group of assholes walk by the window and make some gross comments. Bella ends up telling the girls that she'll meet up with them for dinner after she goes to the bookstore. She gets the book that she wants, and it's getting dark outside as she's leaving. We see somebody watching from afar. She's walking down an alley alone, and here comes two of those assholes from earlier. She turns the other way and runs into the other three. They have her surrounded, and it's a really bad situation. They're drinking, they're making gross comments. Out of nowhere, a Volvo Tokyo drifts into the parking lot. It's Edward. He tells her to get in the car. Edward approaches the men and snarls at them, and it freaks them out. He gets back in the car and nearly runs them over, then peels out of the parking lot, driving like a total psychopath. He says I should go back and rip those guys' heads off. And Bella's like, what? He says, you don't know the repulsive things they were thinking. And she says, you do? Edward is fuming, and he asks Bella to talk about something to distract him so he won't go back and kill those guys. She tells him to put his seatbelt on, and he just laughs and tells her to put hers on. Bella shows up at the restaurant just as Angela and Jessica are walking out. They ask where she was and then see Edward. He apologizes for keeping Bella from dinner, and they're all like, oh, no problem. We were just leaving. Edward insists that Bella stay and get something to eat and that he will drive her home. So Bella gets mushroom ravioli and Edward orders nothing. He's on a diet. Bella has questions. She wants to know how Edward knew where she was. He tells her that he feels very protective of her and that he heard what those guys were thinking. Bella says, so you can read minds. And yeah, he can. He can read everyone's except for Bella's. He proceeds to tell Bella what's on everyone in the restaurant's mind. Money, sex, cats. But he can't read hers. He tells Bella, I don't have enough strength to stay away from you anymore. And Bella says, then don't. On the way home, they accidentally touch hands, and Bella is shocked at how cold he is, despite the heat being on. They drive past the police station, and there's some activity going on. Charlie is still there, and Carlisle is too. Waylon is dead. He was attacked by an animal, probably the same one that killed the security guard. Bella goes inside to console Charlie. He knew Waylon for 30 years. He gives her pepper spray to carry, just in case. She goes home and does some research about cold ones and starts putting the pieces together. Edward is a vampire, obviously. After school the next day, they go into the woods together, which is a questionable choice, but okay. Bella says, you're impossibly fast and strong. Your skin is pale white and ice cold. Your eyes change color. You speak like you're from a different time. You don't eat or drink. You never go out in the sunlight. Then she asks, how old are you? He says, 17. She says, how long have you been 17? Edward says, a while. She tells him, I know what you are. He tells her to say it out loud. Vampire. He asks if she's scared. She clearly is, but she says no. He says, ask me what we eat. And Bella says, you won't hurt me. He grabs her arm and tells her that she needs to know what he looks like in the sunlight. He puts her on his back and flies up a mountain. He walks into a beam of light to reveal that his skin literally sparkles in the sun. He says, this is what I am, and I am dying. He just asked Bella if she was afraid because, vampires drink blood. She says that she's not, and he thinks showing her that he has sparkly skin is going to invoke terror in her. What is the logic behind this thinking, Edward? Girls love sparkly things, except probably not Bella because she's not like other girls. She says he's beautiful, and he says, beautiful? This is the skin of a killer, Bella. And he is so disgusted with himself, I cannot. So now he's really putting on the theatrics. Bella is so unfazed, and he says, "Everything about me invites you in. I'm the world's most dangerous predator." He takes off running and yells, "As if you could outrun me." He pulls a tree from the ground and says, "As if you could fight me off. I'm designed to kill." He's basically screaming, "Fear me, woman," and she's like, "No, you're hot as fuck. I don't care." Not even when he says, "I wanted to kill you. I've never wanted a human's blood more in my life than yours." She says, "I trust you," and he says, "Don't." So Edward gets the zoomies again and takes off up into a tree. He tells Bella his family has learned to control their thirst and only drinks animal blood, but Bella's blood is like his own personal brand of heroin. That's why he seemed disgusted with her when they met. He was struggling to not kill her, and he still is. But Bella trusts him. She's not scared of him. She's only scared of losing him. Now we have some more iconic and wildly cringy dialogue. Edward, "So the lion fell in love with the lamb." Bella, "What a stupid lamb." Edward, "What a sick, masochistic lion." So Bella is sure of 3 things. 1, Edward's a vampire. 2, there's a part of him, she doesn't know how dominant, that thirsts for her blood. And 3, she was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. Edward takes her to school the next day and he's feeling himself. He's full on, arm around her shoulder, "This is my girl." Bella says, "You know everyone is staring at us." And Edward's like, not that guy. Oh, wait, he just looked. And I have to know if that line was improvised because it sounds like something Robert Pattinson would say, not Edward. Edward is not very silly. In the woods later, Edward gives Bella the tea. Carlisle changed him when he was dying of the Spanish flu in 1918. He says Carlisle would never change someone who had another choice. Edward says it was excruciating for him, but it was actually harder for Carlisle because he had to restrain himself after biting Edward. The taste of blood, kind of sends a vampire into a frenzy. Edward compares his family to vegetarians, but says it's like a human living on tofu. It keeps you strong, but you never feel fully satisfied. Edward confirms that it was a vampire that killed Waylon and the security guard, and that there are others out there. He also tells her that Alice can see the future in a way. She has visions. Later, Edward tells Bella he wants to take her to his house the next day. He is giddy, and Bella is worried. Not about being in a house full of vampires, but that they won't like her, and this tickles Edward. Edward leaves just as Billy and Jacob pull up. As they're driving by, Billy and Edward scowl at each other, and clearly there's some tension. Jacob obviously likes Bella. Billy says he's been bugging him about going to see her. As Charlie is wheeling Billy into the house, he tells him that they don't think it was an animal that killed Waylon anymore, and Billy says, "I never thought it was." Charlie tells Billy to let everyone on the res know to stay out of the woods. He says, "Will do. Don't want anyone else getting hurt," as he's staring at Bella. What's going on? We're at Edward's the next day, his family's insanely beautiful home. They're cooking Italian food for Bella, and Rosalie is disgusted. She's not even helping. She's just holding a bowl of salad out while wearing gloves. She asks, "Is she even Italian?" And Emmett says,
Her name is Bella.
they're also watching a cooking video because they don't cook. Bella arrives and meets Esme, Edward's mom. She tells Bella they're cooking Italiano for her, and Carlisle says it's giving them a reason to use the kitchen for the first time. Edward tells them she already ate, and Rosalie gets so pissed she crushes the bowl in her hands and says, "Perfect." Edward tells Bella to just ignore her, and Rosalie says, "Yeah, let's just pretend this isn't dangerous for all of us." Bella assures them that she'd never tell anyone. Rosalie says, "Our whole family will be in danger if this ends badly between you two." Bella says, "Badly as in, I would be the meal?" "Yes, girl." So now Alice comes in. She's actually very happy to meet Bella and gives her a big hug. She says, "Bella, oh, You do smell good. Edward's like, Alice, what the f? And she's like, it's fine. We're going to be really good friends. Jasper is next to Alice, looking like he's about to explode, and Carlisle says, excuse him, he's our newest vegetarian and he's struggling a bit. Despite looking like he wants to rip Bella to pieces, he says it's a pleasure to meet her. Edward shows Bella the rest of the place, including a wall of graduation caps because they're perpetually in high school and have all graduated dozens of times. Bella says that must be miserable, and he says, yeah, but the younger we start in a place, the longer we can stay. And it doesn't really make sense because they could all just pass for young adults and keep quietly living to themselves, but Edward doesn't have a bed in his room because he never sleeps. Bella plays what's in his stereo, and it's classical music, which Bella apparently knows, and this impresses Edward, and they slow dance, kind of, but, Bella's quirky and clumsy, and she can't dance. So now he takes her for a ride through the trees on his back. He tells her, you better hold on tight, spider monkey. And I'm sorry, but if anyone is a spider monkey here, it's Edward, the way he's climbing these trees. Now we see the three people that killed Waylon earlier hiding in the woods as the cops are searching for whoever killed him. Obviously, we now know that these are the other vampires. At school, Mike tells Bella that he doesn't love her and Edward together because he looks at her like she's something to eat. Charlie and Bella are having dinner. The waitress asks Charlie if they have any leads on who killed Waylon, and outside, Mike is shaking his ass in the window at Bella. Charlie tells Bella she should go out and have fun, then asks if any of the boys in town are interested in her. She's like, really, Dad? We're going to talk about boys? And he's like, yeah, never mind. He feels like he leaves Bella alone too much, and she says that she doesn't mind. She really enjoys being alone. The author of the books actually makes a cameo in this scene at the diner. Bella is on the phone with her mom later. She tells her that they're thinking of moving to Jacksonville more permanently and that Bella would really like it there. Bella says she actually doesn't want to leave Forks, and Renee clocks that it's because of a boy. Now suddenly Edward is in Bella's room, just uninvited. But it turns out Edward has been sneaking into her room for the past few months, watching her sleep. Okay. He says he wants to try something, and he very slowly leans in. They kiss. Bella gets a little too into it, and Edward throws himself across the room. He is clearly struggling, but says that he's stronger than he thinks, and they end up just talking for the rest of the night, and Bella sleeps on his chest. The next day, Bella tells Charlie that she's got a date with Edward, as Charlie is literally drinking beer and cleaning his shotgun. He seems unsure, but Edward is outside and wants to meet him. Edward is very polite. He tells Charlie that Bella won't be late and they're just going to go play baseball with his family. Charlie's like, Bella, baseball? Okay. Before she leaves, Charlie asks if she still has the pepper spray he gave her. All right, this is everyone's favorite scene in the movie, right? The family can only play baseball when it's going to storm because they smack the out of the ball and it's loud as hell. Bella is the umpire and has to call Rosalie out on a home run. Everyone in the family is accepting of Bella except Rosalie. She gives major attitude. Emmett runs up a tree to catch a ball and Rosalie calls him her monkey man. This writing is so cringe. I cannot. What is up with the monkey references? If anything, Emmett's more like a bear, which makes a lot of sense considering his backstory, but we'll get into that later. They're all having fun, and suddenly Alice gets a vision of those three other vampires approaching. So this is Laurent, Victoria, and James. Edward says, I shouldn't have brought you here. I'm so sorry. And he has Bella put her hair down around her neck to try to mask her smell. Carlisle tells them that their hunting has been a bit of a problem for them because they permanently live in the area. Laurent says he didn't realize that the territory had been claimed and that they'd be on their way soon. They ask if they can play with them, and it's very tense, but Carlisle says, yeah, a few of us were leaving anyway. James is staring at Bella, and Edward is staring at James. So Bella and Edward are getting ready to leave, and just then the wind changes direction and it blows Bella's scent right at James. He says, "Oh, you brought a snack." They all shield Bella, and Carlisle says, "The girl is with us. Everyone be cool." Laurent says, "Fine, we will go now," but James is fixated on Bella, and obviously Edward can read his mind. Edward and Bella frantically leave. Edward is telling her that James is a tracker, and Edward's reaction just made tracking Bella the most exciting game for him. So Bella is in trouble with a capital T. The only way to stop James is by ripping him apart and burning the pieces. He tells Bella that he's taking her away from Forks, but she's like, "I can't leave Charlie. We have to figure something out." So Bella walks into her house, yelling at Edward, telling him it's over. She runs upstairs and starts packing a bag. She tells Charlie that she broke up with Edward and she's leaving. He's trying to get her to stay. He says, "Please, Bella, I just got you back." She tells Charlie that she doesn't want to be stuck in Forks like her mom, and she leaves. That's about the worst thing she could say to her dad. My heart always breaks for Charlie in this scene. Outside, we see Bella driving away, and James is watching. As she is hauling ass down the road, Edward jumps onto the outside of her truck and says, "Charlie will forgive you. Let me drive." Bella is really upset about what she had to say to Charlie because she knows how bad it hurt him. Edward tells Bella that Charlie is safe now because James is following them instead. And then someone else jumps onto Bella's truck, but it's just Emmett, and Alice is driving behind them. They go back to Edward's, and Laurent is inside. But Carlisle tells them that he's just come to warn them about James. Laurent says, "I'm getting tired of James's bullshit, but he's a lethal weapon, and you are in grave danger." The Cullens are all rushing to get Bella out of Forks. All of them except Rosalie. Carlisle's like, "Get a grip, babe. She's Edward's girl, so she's family now." Alice and Jasper take Bella to a hotel. We're definitely out of Forks now because there's desert and cacti around. Edward, Emmett, and Rosalie are running through the forest. Rosalie is reluctantly wearing one of Bella's jackets and is like leaving her scent on trees and stuff to lead James and Victoria away. Alice has a vision that the tracker was following Edward and them, but realized what they were doing, and now he's changed his plan. He's going to a room that's full of mirrors. Alice draws it out, and Bella recognizes it as the ballet studio she went to as a child, and she's way less concerned about this fact than she needs to be. Edward calls and says that they lost James, but he's going to come collect her, and they're going to go somewhere while the rest of the family deals with this chaos. Bella then gets a call from her mom. It's coming from their home phone, and Renee is saying, Bella, are you there?" Bella asks her mom why she's home and says everything is fine, I will explain soon. Then James gets on the phone. He says Victoria was very easily able to find your previous address, so he went there to wait, figuring that's where Bella would go. But Renee showed up when she got a frantic call from Charlie. He tells her to come to her old ballet studio, and if she wants her mom safe, she has to come alone. She doesn't even tell Jasper and Alice this, and she sneaks out of the hotel while they're in the lobby and takes a taxi to the ballet studio. She hears Renee calling out for her, but realizes it's just a home video that James had found and was using to lure Bella. So it's just her and James alone now. Renee is still in Florida, unaware of what is even happening. He says, "You made this too easy, so to have a little fun, I'm going to record this." Bella tries to pepper spray him, and it sounds like she's just spraying water onto a ceramic plate. It obviously has no effect. But now James is pissed. He throws Bella and her head's bleeding. He grabs her leg and seemingly breaks it. She is screaming in pain when out of nowhere, here comes Edward. So these two throw each other around in the studio for a bit. Bella gets a huge cut on her leg in the process, and she's bleeding. Then James bites her. So Edward starts to rip his throat out with his teeth when the rest of the Cullens show up. Carlisle stops him and says that he needs to help Bella. Alice rips James's head off, and Jasper and Emmett start a fire to burn his body. Carlisle says she's got a major cut and she's gonna bleed out. Edward has to choose between letting her turn or sucking the venom out. Edward's afraid he won't be able to stop himself, but he sucks the venom out. He indeed isn't able to stop once he tastes Bella's blood, and Carlisle has to yell at him to quit because he's killing her. Bella's life is flashing before her eyes. Then she wakes up in the hospital. Her mom is there. The first thing she asks is where Edward is. He's asleep in the corner of the room. Renee says he hasn't left her side since. So the story is Carlisle and Edward drove down to convince Bella to return to Forks. She tripped and fell down 2 flights of stairs and through a window. She broke her leg and lost a lot of blood, which is believable because Bella's clumsy. Renee tells Bella they found a house in Jacksonville and she's gonna love it. Bella tells her she's staying in Forks. She wants to apologize to Charlie, so Renee goes to get him. Edward wakes up and he tells her that James is dead, but Victoria ran off. Edward is in his feelings and tells Bella that she has to go to Jacksonville so he can't hurt her anymore. He feels like this is all his fault. She's like, "Are you effing kidding me? No, I'm not leaving you." She's freaking out and he's like, I'm here, okay? And he gives her a kiss on the forehead. Next, we see Edward and Charlie sitting at the dining room table. Charlie looking extremely suspicious of Edward, obviously. Then Bella hobbles down the stairs in a foot cast and a dress. Edward's taking her to prom. Edward tells Charlie that he will take care of her, and Charlie says, "Yeah, I've heard that before." Before Bella leaves, Charlie tells her that he put a new can of pepper spray in her purse and that she looks beautiful. At the dance, Edward leaves Bella to park the car, and Jacob appears out of the woods. Jacob tells Bella that Billy paid him $20 to tell her she needs to break up with Edward. He says, quote, "We'll be watching you." If you haven't seen Twilight before, this is a little bit of a spoiler alert, but obviously we know that Jacob is a werewolf and there's beef between them and the vampires. But Bella does not actually know that. She just knows that vampires are real. So how weird would it be to have your friend's dad, who you haven't seen in 10 plus years, want you to break up with your boyfriend? Edward shows back up and shuffles Bella away. He and Jacob exchange unfriendly looks. He tells Bella, "I leave you alone for 2 minutes and the wolves descend." Edward and Bella are dancing in the gazebo. Kind of. Edward has put Bella on his feet like she's a child. Bella tells Edward that she wants to be like him and he should have just let her change. He tells her that he doesn't want her to be like he is because he's a monster. She says, "I want to be with you forever." He pulls her hair away from her neck and says, "Are you ready right now?" And she was down. She was game right there at prom. But of course he's kidding. He says, "Is it not enough to have a long, happy life with me?" Bella seems disappointed, but she says, "For now." They kiss and continue to dance. We pan away and see that Victoria is watching them from inside, looking vindictive. And that's Twilight. So, what did we think? I cannot imagine that anyone actually watching this hasn't seen the movie, but if for whatever reason that is you, please go watch it now because I promise you, I did not properly capture the essence that is Twilight. I was thinking of doing a video on my ASMR channel about my favorite celebrity scandals over the years, and the R. Pats K. Stu relationship would definitely be on that list. Let me know if you are Team Jacob or Team Edward in the comments, or Team Charlie, because as much as I love Edward, Charlie is actually where it's at. Don't forget to check out my other channels, my ASMR channels. I have a Patreon membership, recap channel, all that good stuff is in the description. Please subscribe and maybe leave me a like if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Stay loose, silly goose.